So, it is Halloween, and I thought what better excuse than to do a full album ranking for one of my favourite bands of all time, Type O Negative. I actually filmed this a couple of weeks ago to give myself time to edit, but I'll tell you what, why don't you save the judgment for yourself? I gotta admit, I'm actually a little bit obsessed with frontman Peter Steele. Not in that way, and especially his connection to the New York hardcore scene. Not in that way, but seriously, the man's pretty legendary. The amount of interviews I hear on podcasts like Jamie Jester or Rob Flynn's podcast where Peter Steele's name keeps coming up. He's just this legendary, iconic guy. He was so funny, so intelligent, so creative, and Type O Negative, they're hands down one of my favourite bands. I've said this in a lot of my album rankings. There are no bad albums in the Type O Negative discography. None. Okay? Just to make that absolute... In fact, actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to get rid of D tier. That's how passionate I feel about this. Yeah, that looks right. Yeah, there's literally no bad album. Whatever album goes in C tier is not a bad album. It's purely within the context of all of their other albums. Every single one of their albums are great. I'd happily listen to any one of them. All right. Usually I don't include live albums for these sorts of things. However, because their discography is only 6 actual studio albums, I figured I'm going to include Origin of the Feces because it's a great album anyway, and we'll get to that in a bit, but I've decided to include it for this one. For any of you who just want to get straight to the albums, you can find the timestamps down below. For the rest of you, I'm going to go through a bit of band history to get us up to speed. Type O Negative were formed in Brooklyn, New York, in the year of our Lord, 1989. By Peter Steele on bass and lead vocals, Kenny Hickey guitar, co-lead vocals, Josh Silver on keyboards, also backing vocals, and the original drummer, Sal Abrascato. He would later be replaced by Johnny Kelly, but we'll get to that later. That's one great thing about this. So many of these album rankings I've done, I've had to go through a myriad of lineup changes for each damn album. Type O were pretty much, with the exception of Sal, it's pretty much the same lineup the entire way through, which makes my life so much easier. Thank you, Type O. So, their musical style fused goth, doom, psychedelia, and at times hardcore. But the main influences of the band were a mixture of Black Sabbath and the Beatles, and this is really apparent in the music. In fact, they even donned the moniker themselves, the Drab Four. Peter Steele was already quite well known in the hardcore scene. I alluded to that earlier on, and that's down to these two incredible albums. Carnivore. If you haven't checked out Carnivore, do. They are absolutely incredible. There was a part of me that was actually kind of, part of me almost wanted to include him in this album ranking, but it's not Type O Negative, is it? These albums are infused with thrash and hardcore and also doom. There's what I find quite fascinating about both of these albums is you can hear all the ingredients of Type O Negative in these albums. If you listen to these two, that he was doing Type O Negative before he was doing Type O Negative. Obviously it would be much more refined later on. You'd bring a lot more of the gothic and the lush elements into it, but they were there on these albums, and they're absolutely incredible. Retaliation, in particular, absolutely insanely good. Safe to say that lyric-wise, these would be... I don't know if these could be made now, but I love these albums. I don't give a fuck. Carnivore were already signed to Roadrunner Records, so when they split up and Type O Negative got together, Roadrunner took on Type O Negative, but I believe it was actually Peter Steele himself, not the band, who was tied to the contract. And this would take a toll on him mentally throughout the years. We'll get to that later on. Type O Negative started out with the name Repulsion, where they got a cease and desist because of the infamous grindcore band of the same name. They had to change their name, so then they changed their name to Sub-Zero, and they got tattoos with the zero and the minus sign through it. They also found out later that there was a band called Sub-Zero, got another cease and desist, had to change the name once again. As Peter Steele once put it, they already had these stupid tattoos, so he had to really think about it. And from what I understand, he was sat in the car one day listening to the radio, and an advert come on asking for people to donate Type O Negative blood. Type O Negative, zero negative. Zero negative? Is that the... No, zero minus. Maths was never my thing. But the light bulb moment went with the tattoo. Type O Negative. That's the band name. There was nothing deeper to it than that, which I found quite funny. And just before we get into the first album, it's worth pointing out that Peter Steele and keyboardist Josh Silver were actually childhood friends, and they had already been in a band together called Fallout, which were in 1979, and they split in 1982. I also highly recommend checking out their stuff. There's a single that is available on YouTube called Rock Hard, and I think the other song is called Batteries Not Included. They're actually really fun songs, and yet again, one thing that's a constant throughout their history, incredibly intelligent, very creative people, and Pete's way with lyrics, his way with words is just second to none. Absolutely incredible. And also Josh Silver, huge contributor. Both of them, from what I understand, produced all of their albums as well. I love the production on all of their albums. It's very unique sounding. It's unique to them. They really are. They really are a genius band in so many ways. Anyway, I've gushed enough. Let's go into it. So, starting out with the debut album, Slow, Deep and Hard. This was released on June 11th, 1991. This is a bit of an anomaly in their back catalogue, because essentially this is leftover Carnivore songs. The hardcore elements are very much in play on this album. There was a lot of controversy surrounding this album, which we'll get into as we go through some of the songs. Regarding the lyrics, there's a lot of social commentary on this, which is he's very opinionated, but also this deals with a very, very bad breakup that he had with a girlfriend, and essentially I believe he tried to commit suicide, and he was in a pretty bad way mentally at the time of writing the lyrics for this album, and it definitely shows on some of these songs. Unsuccessfully coping with the natural beauty of infidelity, also known as I Know You're Fucking Someone Else. This is a great song. What was it? 12 minutes 36 in length. This one obviously deals with the breakup. There's some he's not happy. He's not happy. This is a great song. It shows all of the elements of Type O Negative that we will get later on, but they were very much apparent right from the very beginning. Get slow, doomy, sludgy, Sabbath-inspired riffs, along with beautiful acoustic sections, along with these really upbeat, kind of jokey, kind of ironic, pissed off lyrics. It's a strangely fun song for a very, very dark subject. Next track, Der Untermensch. This one speaks of Peter Steele's opinion of those who claim benefits, and he certainly doesn't hold back on what he thinks about this. This one in particular led to accusations of bigotry and Nazism. Keyboardist Josh Silver, who is Jewish, recalled, "They just invented a bunch of shit and said we were Nazis. Meanwhile, there were bands playing right down the block that are Sikh-heiling the audience and nobody's bothering with them. But it was a good and bad thing. As a Jew, I obviously never want to be labelled as a Nazi, but at the same time, go ahead and make us famous. That's fine." That's one thing I always loved about Type O Negative. They never shied away from courting controversy. They didn't give a shit. There was a great interview with Kenny Hickey on the Jamie Jester podcast years ago, where he was talking about how much he would have loved Pete Steele to have been around right now in the current climate of not being able to say anything, because he would have just said whatever the fuck he wanted. He was a very opinionated, very outspoken person. I believe Kenny was also saying he was the sort of person, if he come out with an idea for doing something, he showed no fear. He had absolutely no reservations of doing what the fuck he wanted, and that's what artists should do. Whether you agree with all the lyrics or their opinions or not, I completely think that an artist should be free to do what the hell they want. Zero Tolerance has some of the sludgiest, nastiest riffs, and there's this great section towards the back half where it just all slows down. You get this funeral dirge type music, and then it all kicks off. You can hear Pete. You can almost imagine Peter Steele just riding on this motorcycle, just wee-hoo. Yes, oh man, I love the chant vocals that so many Type O Negative songs have. They're just fucking funny as hell. I love them. I've heard in comments of videos I've done over the years, people just not liking Type O Negative. I think so many people just don't truly get the humour that they were trying to convey. It's very sarcastic, very ironic. I love it. It suits me perfectly. Prelude to Agony is another great song. Glass Walls of Limbo, I actually really enjoy. It used to be played as their intro music. It's like 6 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. 6 minutes, 45 minutes. 6 minute 45 seconds. And this is essentially almost like Gregorian chanting. Sounds like just people marching down this. It's with chains. It's a really actual great song. I actually really love it. It's just a quite cool piece of almost ambient music in an aggressive way. The Misinterpretation of Silence is just 1 minute 4 seconds of nothing. Gravitational Constant is a really catchy song, and we also get the first introduction of their cover songs. This one being a cover of Jimi Hendrix's Hey Joe, in this case Hey Pete, with Kenny Hickey also singing on this one. One thing I love about Typo Negative's covers, they completely make them their own. They're not one of those bands who cover a song just as it is. They completely make it their own, and this is a great cover. They also did that on Carnivore as well. I think they did Manic Depression. I've gone on for a long time, man. Wow, I've been nearly doing this for 20 minutes. Slow, Deep and Hard. This is a really, really great debut. I enjoy this one a lot. Stop moving that around. I'm going to put this in B tier, however. It's a great debut. I enjoy these songs a hell of a lot, but they will do much better stuff later on. So yeah, B tier for me, I think, all day. Moving on to Origin of the Feces. This was May 12th, 1992. This is a live album. I've heard a lot of stories about this. Apparently the band took the advance they were given for recording this and spent it all on vodka and recorded it in there. I've heard conflicting stories. I don't know if it was recorded in somebody's basement or in a studio. They essentially just recorded the debut live and put in like crowd noises over the top. There's even a fake bomb scare, and there's so many great lines in this. And also the arrangements of the songs are quite different as well. There's also a couple of extras. We got the inclusion of Are You Afraid, which is a fantastic song. I think it was supposed to have been on the debut, but it got left off for some reason. I might be wrong about that. Incredible song. The title, of course, is a mock of the Darwin classic Origin of the Species. We've also got their inclusion of Paranoid by Black Sabbath, which is nothing like the original. Nothing like it. They completely make it their own. But I fucking love this album. I absolutely adore this album, and I think actually the song arrangements on this are better than on the debut. I Know You're Fucking Someone Else especially sounds a lot more upbeat, a lot more fun, if that makes any sense. There's a great bass line that kicks in that segues from one part of the song to the other that was quite bland on the original, and on this is just really brought to life much more, and I just enjoy this one a lot. This is worth listening to for no other reason than just to have a good laugh. It's a fucking great album, and to be honest with you, I'm actually going to put this one above Slow, Deep and Hard. This is still going to go in B tier, but I enjoy this one a lot, and I actually enjoy the arrangements and the feel of the songs. Just, they're so much better on this. Next up, we have a real heavy hitter, Bloody Kisses, released on August 17th, 1993. This was the first album that I got. A friend of mine who was living in America actually came back and he had this album. I'd never heard of them at the time. I didn't have access to cable or anything like that. I might have read about them in Kerrang magazine or something, but my friend bought this album back, not this exact one, but he gave me a copy of it and I was just hooked right away. So yeah, I've been listening to them since 1993. This was the first Roadrunner album to go gold as well, and also the last album to feature drummer Sal Abrascato. He would leave the band the following year to go and join Life of Agony, and Johnny Kelly would come in, but that would be later, who was originally the drum tech. So not a bad gig, eh? Once again, this is produced by Josh Silver and Peter Steele, and this is a great album. There's so many good things on this. It seems kind of almost a cliche to put this as one of their top albums, but it is just an incredible album. I never get tired of it. It's just absolutely fantastic. Christian Woman is a incredibly good song. You get the richness of Pete's voice, his lyrical prowess. It goes through so many ebbs and flows throughout the song. And that, the Corpus Christi bit is so atmospheric. It's just incredible. Black Number One is a really fun song, but it's kind of one of those songs I'm a bit sick of now, I guess, because I just heard it so many times. Still a great song. There's kind of lots of little interlude pieces in here as well. Kill All the White People is a throwback to Carnival. Very hardcore driven, very sarcastic. Summer Breeze, who was it who originally wrote this? Seals and Crofts. Another cover where they completely make it their own. Sound sensational. Set Me on Fire is just this really kind of psychedelic Beatles-esque, very bass riff driven piece, which I absolutely love. The bass lines on this are just absolutely awesome. We Hate Everyone it's an absolute gem. I love this song. If anyone hasn't heard this song, check out this song. It's so much fun. This is a real tongue-in-cheek, ironic stab at all the Nazi and bigot accusations that were thrown at them, and essentially them saying it's like, look, we're not judging anyone in particular. We hate everybody. We hate everybody equally, and it's just a really sarcastic take on it. Bloody Kisses, the title track itself, is this 11-minute epic that it's huge sounding. You just got this vision of walking through the snow in a real bad snowstorm, and it's amazing. Too Late Frozen is another fantastic song. I remember seeing them live. I got to see them live a couple of times, and during this track they drop all fake snow all over the stage and everything. It was always a great bit. Blood and Fire is an amazing song. Can't Lose You is a really Beatles infused, lots of sitar, very psychedelic, real great close to the album. Might be an obvious choice, but for me this one goes in S tier. I absolutely love this album. I always have, I always will. Yeah, fucking great, amazing album. One last thing as well, there's also a separate version of this. I wish I still had it. I sold it years ago. I really wish I hadn't, but there was a digipack version of this as well, called the Top Shelf Edition, I think it was called, where it got rid of We Hate Everyone and Kill All the White People, and instead I think it might have got rid of all the sort of transitional pieces as well, and it brought in a new track called Suspended in Dusk, which was essentially about a vampire, which is a really atmospheric track. So it's much more of just a gothic album, and it actually worked really well. I wish I still had that fucking album. If anybody wants to send me a copy. Moving on to August 20th, 1996, October Rust. So yes, Sala Brascato had left by this point. Johnny Kelly comes in, although I believe the next 3 albums were all drum machine. It was all Peter Steele and Josh Silver programming drums for everything. I believe Johnny does actually appear on the final album, Dead Again, but I believe these next 3 albums, it's actually not him performing on it. He was the live drummer. I don't know why they chose to do that, because he was certainly a capable drummer, but I don't know, maybe it's just, I actually was lucky enough to see them at Donington 1996 before this album came out. They only got to play 3 songs. They had a half-hour set, but they played Christian Woman, Black Number One, and My Girlfriend's Girlfriend. And seeing as 2 of those songs are like 10 minutes a piece, didn't leave them much time. The opening track, Background, is essentially just 38 seconds of silence to make you think. I think the original intention was that the band wanted you to think there was something wrong with your stereo, turn the volume right up, and then the next track would come in and like, oh, what the chuff. The next track would actually be the band themselves introducing the album. So, and I hope you liked our little joke there in introducing the album. It's a strange way to start, but the first real track is the incredible Love You to Death. Beautiful song. This is one of those ones that a lot of the reaction channels do, the vocal analysis type people, and they always love it because it just displays Pete's incredible voice. The production on this is incredible. This is a very lush sounding album. It sounds absolutely glorious. and for many people this is their favourite. Be My Druidess, incredible. Green Man is essentially in many ways Pete's theme song. He was called the Green Man because he used to work in the Park and Recreations department, I think it was, in Brooklyn, where he used to take care of the parks. He used to love nature. I believe there's actually the park where he worked, there's actually a tree dedicated to him, where people go and, like, you know, leave mementos of Pete, which is, I'd love to go there one day. That'd be fantastic. Red Water, Christmas Morning is a great track. My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, it's a funny song, but I gotta admit, I'm not really a big fan of this. Pete definitely went out of his way to be more commercial for this album. He was quite unapologetic about this, and it definitely shows on some of the songs. Die With Me is fucking glorious. Burnt Flowers Fallen is an okay track. In Praise of Bacchus is a really good song. Cinnamon Girl, this is their cover of the Neil Young song, and they completely make it their own. I love this version, it's amazing. Wolf Moon is one of their best songs. It is such a great riff. If you haven't heard this song, check out Wolf Moon. When the riff kicks in, it's just, oh man. I remember seeing them live on this tour when they went into this, and the whole crowd just bouncing up and down, pogoing. It was awesome. And then we got Haunted, which is another great song. Now, I love this album. I've clearly sung its praises. However, I don't know if it's because I've listened to it too much or because it is that little bit more commercial. This one does actually fall a little bit for me. Like I said, there are no bad Type of Negative albums. I would happily listen to this album anytime. But in regards to all the other albums, this one, I mean, it's still going in A tier, but like it's I don't know, I find myself not enjoying this as much as I used to. At the time this came out, I listened to this so damn much, and it was way above Bloody Kisses for me. But I was surprised that as I've been going back through all these, Bloody Kisses, the album that just stands out to me that much more. Glorious album, fantastic, still amazing, but for me it goes in A tier. Now we move to September the 21st, 1999 for World Coming Down. This is a much darker album. I'll say right from the off, I didn't like this album when it first came out. I guess I was still a young, happy-go-lucky guy who hadn't yet been hit by the ravages of life. And I wasn't prepared for this one. This is in stark contrast to October Rust. This is a very dark album. There were a bunch of deaths in Peter Steele's life and his family, and it reflected the songwriting and the lyrics, especially on this song. This debuted at number 39 on the Billboard Top 200 chart. Did I actually write any? I should have mentioned as well, October Rust actually debuted at number 42. I guess that was following the success of Bloody Kisses. Anyway, let's get into the track. So this one starts out with the track Skip It, which is 11 seconds of... Anyone who used to listen to CDs all the time, it's not such the case now, because you often burn the CDs onto hard drive and listen that way. But when you used to listen to CDs all the time, you used to get so many scratches on them. You used to get to a point where the CD would just... That was terrible. The first track is essentially a mimic of that to make you feel like the album is just destroyed right from the off, but not so. The first track is White Slavery, and this is quite the downer, this song. The riffs are ridiculously slow and heavy, and when you combine them with Pete's lyrics, it certainly doesn't get any lighter, that's for sure. This one deals with his growing dependence on cocaine. Let me say Pepsi Generation, a few lines of misinformation, a few lines, you get it? Watch your money flow away oh so quick, to kill yourself properly, coke is it. That being said, the choruses on this absolutely fucking huge and so full of emotion that they never fail to move me. Sinus is the first of 3 interlude pieces. The other ones would be, was it Liver and Lung, and these would convey the dangers of substance abuse on, you know, those particular on the parts of the body, which is obviously something that he was going through at the time. Everyone I Love Is Dead is insanely catchy, especially when you consider what the subject matter of the song is about. Who Will Save the Sane offers a touch of psychedelia to the proceedings. The title track itself is an 11-minute epic, and we get a real great use of Kenny Hickey singing this. I love Kenny's voice. It complements Pete so well. I should have mentioned that on some of the other albums, actually, when Kenny Hickey joins in. It's always so damn good. They complement each other. I fucking love this band. Every single member of the band is just insanely good. I've not really talked about Josh Silver yet either. It's incredibly good keyboardist. Creepy Green Light is fucking incredible. This song is about a loved one, a dead loved one, being risen from the grave. A dark and gothic song with a real pop sensibility. Everything Dies is another one that is so easy to sing along to. The entirety of the song. And again, when you consider what the subject matter is, it's kind of insane how easily they can take an incredibly dark subject and have an incredibly dark song, but yet have it so just beautiful. Pyretta Blaze is the anomaly in this album. This one deals with the sexual fantasy of being with a sadistic pyrophiliac. But it does offer up some fantastic Sabbath-style riffing, so we can let this one off the hook. This is another great song. All Hallows Eve is similar to Creepy Green Light. In this case, Pete's desire. I think the last one was more of a maybe a sexual partner, whereas this one is more about. I'm guessing he would love nothing more than to bring back one of his family members, and how he's essentially prepared to sell his soul in which to do that. Very, very harrowing but beautiful song. And then we have Day Tripper, the Day Tripper medley. To end the album, and it's again always great to hear one of their cover versions. They always make it on their own. They always make it their own. Day Tripper. I just love how aggressive this one starts in. As I said, I did not like this album at all when it first came out. I guess I was expecting something different. Over the years, I have truly come to appreciate this album. This is a wonderful album, so much so that I'm actually putting this above Bloody Kisses in S tier. An incredible piece of work that gets better the older I get. Maybe that's because I relate to the lyrics more. I don't know. As you get older, you lose more, I guess, and maybe there's a part of me that resonates with that wonderful album. Just absolutely incredible. Next up, June 17th, 2003, we get the release of Life Is Killing Me. This was a bit of a reaction to the previous album in that a lot of the songs are much shorter, much more to the point. There's a little more of a poppy aspect to some of these. There's more, some of the hardcore elements are brought back in again. There's a bit more pace to them, a bit more, a bit more words. This was the last album that they would do with Roadrunner. And after the release of this album, I remember that they did a fake news post of Peter Steele's death, which really got people like, what the hell has happened? And it was actually in reference to the fact that Peter Steele was now free of the Roadrunner contract. But yeah, I just thought that was worth pointing out. That was good. I could have done that better. The opening track is great, just this slow, dirgy Sabbath piece that segues nicely into I Don't Want to Be Me, which is such a catchy song. I love this one from the first time I heard it, and I've loved it ever since. It's a great song. I enjoy Less Than Zero. Less Than Zero is a great track. Todd's Ship Gods is one of my favourite Type O songs. There's something about the melodies on this album. On this particular song, I love this song. It's an amazing song. I Like Goyles is a throwback to the carnivore days. It's a much more in-your-face, sarcastic carnivore sort of hardcore song. It's fun enough. It's a fun song. A Dish Best Served Coldly and How Could She is great. Life Is Killing Me is a standout track. Their title tracks often are. Nettie shows the incredible vocal range of Peter Steele, which is truly staggering. He's often remembered for his deep voice, but I don't think he gets enough credit for actually how good he was as a singer. His vocal range was insanely good. I think it was like 6 or 7 octaves. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it was ridiculous. And there are so many songs where he really He's so passionate in his vocals. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. It really pisses me off. Nettie, this is a song about his grandmother. It's a fantastic song to listen to. We Were Electrocute is a song I've never quite really enjoyed. I do like the intro though. I Don't Come... Gimme That. I can't remember how you pronounce this one. It's another song that I'm not overly fussed about. Angry Inch is a fun song. This is a cover, I believe, of a song from a musical called Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which is about somebody getting a sex change operation that went horribly wrong. Anesthesia is one of their absolute greatest songs. It's a sublime song. I can't remember if it might have been Wacken 2007, I can't remember, but there's a live performance of this song that is just stunning. Incredible song. Drunk in Paris. This is, how long is it? Like 1 minute 27. And ironically enough, this is a standout song for me for purely personal reasons. I was actually in Paris the day that Peter Steele passed away. I remember walking around and looking at my phone. I think I checked out the Metal Hammer website or something like that. There was the news that he had passed away, and I pretty much spent the next 2 or 3 days that I was there on my own as well. I was drinking a lot at that time, and I remember walking through the streets of Paris, drunk in Paris, listening to all their songs on just shuffle. And this song came on, and I thought how apt it was that I was listening to Drunk in Paris, thinking about Pete Steele while being drunk in Paris, listening to Type O Negative. So, sounds like a bullshit story, but I have bored many people with that one over the years. So yeah, that song is, strangely enough, it means a lot to me for what it is. And finally, we have The Dream Is Dead, which is a real fitting close to the album. This one falls a little bit for me. There are more songs on this that I am prone to skip. However, as you've obviously seen from the pure enthusiasm I have for this album, I still absolutely love it, and I do. It's a fantastic album. The songs I love are some of their best. There's a few that I'm not so bothered about, but this still goes in A tier behind October Rust. Not a bad ranking at all. And sadly, March 13th, 2007, we get the release of their final album, Dead Again. So as I mentioned with Life Is Killing Me, that was their last album with Roadrunner. Apparently in 2004, they signed to Steenhammer, which is an imprint of SPV, which is what this was released on. And this one apparently debuted at number 27, the band's highest chart debut to date. I remember actually getting a leaked copy of this. This was back in the days where you used to be able to get hold of albums like months before they came out. But there was a leaked copy of this, and throughout the entirety, but it was worth getting the leaked version, because Josh Silver, there's a repeat of Josh Silver just saying, this is a product of Type O Negative, Brooklyn, New York, in his droll, very monotone voice that just repeats throughout the album. And it was just really funny to listen to the album in that way. It's fantastic. So let's get into it. Dead Again is a really strong start to the album with a really anthemic chorus. Tripping a Blind Man has a great intro from Josh on keyboards. This one also features some much more punkier moments, as well as Sabbath and Beatles moments thrown in. Prophet of Doom is one of my favourite tracks of theirs. This epic showcases everything that was just so damn fantastic about the band. The lyrics on this one refers to asteroid 99942 Feces, which at the time was said to have the possibility of hitting the Earth on Friday, April the 13th, 2029. This is just an insanely good track. Pete's voice at moments in this, when he's screaming "My soul's on fire," it's so emotional. It's amazing. September Sun is beautiful. Halloween in Heavy is catchy as hell. This one was originally written as a tribute to Dimebag Darrell, but we also get references to, Lennon, Morrison, Bonham, Entwistle, Hendrix. This is essentially an ode to fallen rock stars, and it's just a glorious track, which also has some amazing vocals from Kenny Hickey on this one. These Three Things is a great track. The second half of the album, I do find this album a little, it goes on a lot. This is a long album, and I do find this a tough one to get through a lot of times. These Three Things is a great track, but this one is like over 14 minutes. I do find this one a bit of a tough one to get through at times. She Burned Me Down is a fun one. A touch of Beatles, Some Stupid Tomorrows, packed full of punk energy. An Ode to Locksmiths has some great Sabbath riffs in there, but I find myself less taken with this one for some reason. And the final track, Hail and Farewell to Britain, is a great closer. Brings to mind Nettie from the previous album. Another one with some fantastic Beatles moments on it. I enjoy this album a lot. You'll see we've got a space in C tier, which is unfortunately where it's going. Oh, it wanted to go in B tier. You know what? Sod it. We'll go in B tier. Fuck it. We'll go in B tier. There are no bad albums, as I said. The only reason that this is ranked that little bit lower, it is a tough album to get through all in one go. It's a long album, and it can be quite a grind, I find, to get through. Individual songs I find absolutely fantastic. The first half of the album is absolutely incredible, but it does fall a bit, and yeah, I do find it's just a bit of a grind to get through. But that's not because it's a bad album. They're all fantastic albums. I love every single one of them. So back off. All right. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I actually recorded this a couple of weeks ago, which is just as well, because ever since I've done this ranking, I have been listening to Dead Again pretty much every single day. And my God, this is a fucking good album. And this has actually gone down in my estimation. I didn't give this the attention that it deserved. So, for the sake of this ranking, I am swapping these two around. So this one actually drops down into C tier, I think it was. No, was it B tier? And this one is going in A tier. Incredible album. I've enjoyed listening to this immensely. I don't know what I was talking about. A lot that, what's it? These Three Things is a long song, but it's actually a really fantastic song. I've really gotten into it. I've gone on way too much. Back to the video. These two have swapped round. I mean, they could all go in S tier. How about that? I just put all of them in S tier. Fuck it. Of course, April 14th, 2010, frontman and bassist Peter Steele died reportedly from heart failure. The cause of death was later reported to be sepsis caused by diverticulitis. I already mentioned I was in Paris at the time of hearing this, and it really did knock me for six. I'm not the sort of person who really gets hugely affected by, the deaths of rock stars or whatever. But this and Dimebag Darrell were two of the ones that was just like, what the fuck? James Gandolfini did as well. So there, a little bit about me. Of course, Typo Negative is no more, which is a real sad state of affairs. The band, in my opinion, quite wisely decided not to carry on. Josh Silver's a paramedic now, I believe. Seems like a very talented and very intelligent guy who succeeds in whatever it is he does. Kenny Hickey has done a ton of stuff. He was in Danzig for a little while, Seventh Void. He's also in Silvertomb, I Am. So he's done a ton of stuff. Johnny Kelly. I'm not sure what Johnny Kelly. I think Johnny Kelly has worked with Kenny Hickey quite a lot over the years as well, so they've still been active, but they wisely decided that that's it. They were done with Typo Negative. Typo Negative, I mean, it was all of them. They all contributed greatly, but there's no replacing Pete Steele. Incredible frontman, incredible band. They're one of those bands, the older I get, the more and more I appreciate them, just how unique they are. There's still nobody who sounds like Typo Negative. They're still revered. They're still talked about a lot. They're very much a musician's musician. They're still talked about with such fondness. And I think for anyone who hasn't gotten into them, they're really worth checking out, because they're so influential, and they were just so much to... I can't sing their praises enough. I absolutely love this band. They're one of my favourite bands of all time. So, yeah, there you go. There you go. My album ranking of Typo Negative. All of these could be on S tier. Do you know what I mean? They're all just amazing albums. So, I'm going to go listen to some Typo Negative. I hope you all have a good Halloween. I hope you enjoyed this video, and go and listen to some Typo Negative yourself. Not that you need my permission to do such things. This is that awkward bit where I don't know how to end the video. again, I mean, I've been going on for what, probably best part of 40 minutes at this point. So I'll see you later. All right, bye. Done. That's it. I'm done. Bye.